Good afternoon, and welcome to Digital Transformation Thursdays. Our topic this week is electronic signatures. Are they legal? So we will be discussing the different legal aspects of electronic signatures, and we will discuss the different technologies, more popular electronic signature technologies that are currently in use. And we will have as our guests people from the ICT, Cheryl Vizcarra and Jennifer Canlas from the Department of ICT, who are running the Philippine National PKI, or Public Key Infrastructure program with the ICT that is offering free digital certificates, and also from a Philippine provider using Philippine technology, Jeffrey Reyes of Twala. Actually, I thought initially it was pronounced Tiwala. Apparently, it's Twala. So that's our show for today. I've got far too many slides, I think, to share with you. So I think I'll just jump right in. Hold on, let me get to my presentation. I'll start with. Okay. All right. So electronic signatures. So we'll start off where we were before, and hold on. Anyway, so the hold on. All right. Okay. So what we'll discuss is the e-commerce app, legal recognition of electronic signatures, and then we'll go into some examples of electronic signature technologies. And then if we have some time, we'll jump into electronic evidence or the rules on electronic evidence on electronic signatures. As I mentioned last week, the definition of electronic signatures in the e-commerce app is very broad. And as I mentioned also, the e-commerce app was designed to give legal recognition to electronic signatures, such that the electronic signatures that satisfy the e-commerce app will be considered the same as handwritten signatures. So if that electronic signature is related, right, or connected to an electronic document, then that electronic document will be considered signed under the law. It is the same as a paper document that has that is manually signed, or what they say contains a wet signature. And therefore, if the law requires that something has to be signed, for example, for a promissory note to be negotiable, it must be signed. Then, if it bears that in that electronic promissory note, if it bears that valid electronic signature, then it is that electronic promissory note could become negotiable under the negotiable instruments law. Unfortunately, as I mentioned also, it is a very narrow subset of signatures that are considered the same as handwritten signatures, because they have to comply with, this is section 8 of the e-commerce app. And it has many requirements, as you can see. First, there is a procedure, and it cannot be alterable by the parties interested in the electronic document. And then there's a method to identify the party and to indicate that party's access to the document. Second, there is the method is reliable and appropriate. And third, it is necessary for the party to be sought to be bound in order to proceed further with the transaction to have executed or provided the electronic signature. And finally, there must be an ability on the part of the other party to verify, right? He's authorized and enabled to verify the electronic signature and to make a decision to proceed with the transaction authenticated by the same. So this is a lot of requirements. You have to tick all the boxes before you can say that the document is signed. And that's a little scary initially, because it does appear that only a very narrow subset of signatures will be considered valid under the law. And that's true. However, when you look at I don't know if I have it here. Yeah. When you look at the law itself, there are only actually a very, very few instances where something has to be signed, or a document has to be signed in order for it to be valid. Because we follow what's known as, or Philippine law follows what's known as the spiritual system, contracts are valid in whatever form you may find. And therefore, a verbal contract, an oral contract, is as enforceable as a written contract. and only in a few instances where a signature is required, and only in those instances will you need to have an electronic signature that satisfies Section 8. And these are the instances some of the instances that I've brought here on this slide that you're looking at right now. So a negotiable instrument. I mean, even then, if a negotiable instrument is unsigned, it's still a promissory note. It's just that it's not negotiable. So for you lawyers out there, you can appreciate the difference. So in other words, you just don't avail of the benefits of the negotiable instruments law. But the promissory note by itself will be considered a written document of what the parties agree to, or it could be looked at as a written proof of the existence of the loan. Okay, so I'll now discuss the different ways that you can sign. So one of the ways that I am aware of is using the technology of Apple, right? And also on Apple Preview, you could actually sign. So I have an example here. This is something that was sent to me a few days ago. This is an application for an ID card, the Philippine Judicial Academy. And as you can see, this is sent to me as a PDF document. It's a scan of the document. And what you do here is you click on, I don't know if you can see the mouse, that part there. And when you click, it shows you the different options of the signature. And what you can do is when you choose the signature you want, that's not my signature, but so you can affix it. You can see that it's now the signature is already there. And the other thing you can do is you can choose a color so that it looks legitimate. And then in this case, normally I choose the color blue. And so now what you have there is a signature. The document now looks like it's signed. The question now is this a valid electronic signature? Is this document now considered signed? And the answer is no, right? Because these requirements are not present, right? First of all, I mean, just very clearly, right? The other party is not authorized or enabled to verify the authenticity of that signature, right? There's no way for them to do that, and therefore it fails. Now, does it satisfy an electronic signature under the E-commerce Act? Yes, it's just not considered a valid electronic signature. Okay. Now let's go to Adobe. So Adobe, I captured this from their site, so I hope I don't get sued for
JJ,
copyright
sorry to cut
infringement.
you, but we can't see your screen.
Oh, you can't see my screen.
No.
Oh, wait. Oh, no wonder. Somebody paused the screen. Sorry. There. Sorry. Maybe I know. So you lost everything. Sorry. Let me go back. Thank you for that. Bakit na ano doon? So I'll just show you. So in Apple, no? In Apple, you can, if you open a PDF, you can sign on your PDF using, maybe I should open my Viber on my screen so people can message me in case something's going crazy. Okay. Right. Now, so this is a PDF. You're seeing a PDF. It's sent to me. I can sign it. The place where I'm supposed to put my signature is down here, right? Now, so what you can do is you can click here, this part, and then what it does is it opens there. It opens up the choice of signatures. You can create a signature by if you have an iPad or even on the computer, you can sign using your hand or even on your phone, right? And then it saves it as a signature. Another way to do it is you sign on a piece of paper, put your signature on a piece of paper, you put it against the camera, and then it will scan it reverse, and then they'll put it in the proper place. So actually one of these signatures here, many of these signatures are actually signed manually, right? And then you press that, and then it affixes the signature here, right? You see that? And I can change the color also. So normally I do that so that people think that I actually signed it, even though I did not. And then so that you send this off now. The nice thing about this, and I'm a big user of this, is that you can be anywhere. You could be, because this also works on the iPhone. If somebody sends you an email with a PDF, you can open it on preview and you can have the same functionality on your iPhone, and therefore you can sign documents this way. But as I mentioned earlier, this does not satisfy. This is not a valid electronic signature. That document is still considered unsigned. Okay. There is you can argue that there's good reason to believe that it came from me if it is bound that way. How come? Because the only person who could have affixed that signature using this process is somebody who was able to open my phone or open my computer. And presumably, I'm the only one who can do that. So under those circumstances, you could argue that it's reliable, to a certain degree. But the problem is that you don't satisfy the requirements of the law, particularly the ability of the other party to enable to verify the signature. Okay, so now we go to Adobe. So in Adobe, so I just captured this from the let me just move this out here. Okay, I just captured this from the web earlier. So the first thing you do is you enter the signer's email, okay, and then enter that. Then you add a customized message if you want. You select the document that you want to send, and then you send it. Then it's received by the person who's supposed to sign. He presses start. He enters his initials there. I entered my initial. And then you click tap to enter your signature. I entered my name. Click to finish, and the document now is considered signed, and the document is sent. And then you get access in some sort of like dashboard, right? It shows you the status of documents that are being signed by other people. And then later, of course, if it's signed, it gives you information about that the signature, the document has been signed by the individual. And if you click, you get more information, more details. This is the document that was signed. This is the person who created it. And it shows information about the signing. So I captured that. So it says that it was created at this time. It was emailed to this individual. That individual saw it, right? In other words, that individual saw it on the web, on Adobe's website. Adobe captured this IP address, right? And then he e-signed using the Adobe system. And then the final document was emailed by the Adobe system to these two people, right? The question, of course, is that it satisfy Section 8. Now, maybe I don't know enough about Adobe, and actually we had tried to invite a representative from Adobe. Maybe somebody will come in later. I don't know. Maybe they can tell us on the Q&A that they're around. But so there is a method to identify the party, and that method essentially is basically email, right? Because they do send to your email address, and it indicates your access to the document. The method, you can argue whether it's reliable and appropriate, and that could be a function of what type of transaction you're entering into. And it is necessary for the party to continue to provide the signature, so he's required to provide it. But the thing that is again not clear is whether the other party, that information that I showed you earlier, this information is available to both parties. Now, it does say that the signed document is emailed to both parties, but whether each party has the ability individually to get verification as to the authenticity of the signature is not clear to me based on the demo. But of course, the demo is just that, a demo. Okay, which brings us to DocuSign. Now, DocuSign is a very similar process flow as Adobe. You identify the document, right? You indicate your signature. In this case, there you click on sign, and then the nice thing about DocuSign is they allow you to have your own select style, or you can draw your signature. So it's up to you, and you adapt it. Now, if you look at the definition of an electronic signature, right, it's a mark that you adapt in order to identify yourself and to indicate your consent. So in this particular case, you've adopted this mark, right? And so that is the mark that you've adopted. You click that, and then the signature is affixed on the bottom part of the document. Okay, so you see it there. And then you are able now to see the history, right? The details about that document, when it was created, that it was emailed, the same information. It was sent, it was delivered, and it was signed, right, on this date, that time, and that's the IP address. I'm not wondering if that's really my IP address. Maybe I should have obscured that. Okay, so that's the IP address supposedly of me, and then there's more information, the certificate that's issued by DocuSign. Okay, giving all sorts of information. Okay, and the question now is this legal, lawful signature? Certainly, there's a method to identify both parties, right? Initially, the method to identify the first party is the user ID password that is able to access the DocuSign system. The second method to identify the other signers is through their email address. And the way they can access that is, of course, obviously, you would have access to your email if you have your user name password combo in order to sign the document. Whether it's reliable and appropriate, again, there's some analysis that needs to be done depending on the type of documentation and type of transaction you're entering into. Okay, the necessary for the parties ought to be bound to provide the signature. So that's kicked off. Again, the last part is, are you authorized and enabled to verify the signature independently of each other? And again, that depends on whether or not the information, all of this information is available to all signers of the document. It appears that it is, right? So it would satisfy that. So there's reason to believe that, because the reason I was able to have access to this info was because DocuSign sent me an email, and then it provided me a link to this information. Now, whether this information is available to me moving forward is something that well, I'm not particularly I'm not sure. Okay, so I'll move on to the next part of my presentation, and my next set of slides involves I don't know, digital signature. So we'll jump to digital signature. And let me see. Okay. So digital signatures. Moving on. So I mentioned this already, right? That digital signatures are electronic signatures are broadly authorized and recognized in the broadly defined, but limited in recognition. So a lot are considered, and but only a few are deemed valid. Now, the reason I discuss digital signatures is because as early as 2000, it was my conclusion that only digital signatures within the context of what's known as the public key infrastructure are considered valid signatures. So now I'm going to try to explain to you, and I hope I will be successful in explaining to you what is a digital signature. Okay, I have to move through a couple of slides. I'd like to give credit, by the way. These slides were stolen from. You can see it again. Did it pause? It paused na naman. Why does it pause? Zoom share. Thank you for pointing that out. Why does that happen? So these slides were quote unquote stolen from Abet de la Cruz. So you'll see his name here. So anyway, 20 years worth of theft you're watching right now. So let's hope Abet doesn't sue us. Okay, so the first concept, of course, that we need to understand is encryption. Very simple, right? You take plain text, you apply an electronic key, and then you end up with ciphertext. So that's encryption. Right? You encrypt. That's easy to understand. The next now is the concept of decryption. And in decryption, you take ciphertext, and then you use the electronic key, the same electronic key, and then you decrypt it. So now you are able to encrypt and decrypt, but you use the same key. Okay, and so this is known as symmetric key cryptography. So let's say I wanted to send a message to you and I want it encrypted, because any message that goes through the internet is what's the word? Is open, and anybody can see. Anybody in the path of the message can access the message. That's why they say that internet email, in terms of security, is actually equivalent to the security of a postcard. Okay, so I will encrypt it. I'll encrypt it using this key. I send it on the internet. You receive it, and then using the same key, you can decrypt it now. Okay, this is called single key cryptography. The problem with single key cryptography is that if you want to communicate with many people, you have to send a unique key to each of them. So if Abet is communicating with me and Reina and Roger and Janet and Billy and Gloria, Abet has to send a key to each of us. Okay, so it's messy. You have to have so many keys. If you have well, the average Filipino has I think 1,000 Facebook friends. That's 1,000 keys you have to send to 1,000 people. How do you transmit this key safely, right? Unless you meet face to face, you put it on a USB drive. Hope it doesn't. So you can't send it by email. So it's very, very difficult. So symmetric key cryptography works, but it's difficult. Plus, you're also considering that the other party is able to secure that key on their own. Okay, what if so that's the problem. And so the solution is what they call asymmetric key cryptography or public key cryptography. In public key cryptography, I'm sorry, you are assigned what's known as a key pair. Okay, a private key and a public key. The private key you keep privately, you hold that. The public key is known to everyone. Okay, I'll unahan ko na kayo. If you're aware of Bitcoin, right, and the Bitcoin address is a public key, right? And if you want to transact using Bitcoin, you want to move Bitcoin, the instruction to the blockchain must be signed with the private key. And in a private key, those are the keys that are in your wallet. That's why if your wallet is compromised, right, you can sign instructions and the blockchain will know that it's signed properly because it relates it to the public key. Okay? So I'll go back to that later if you have any questions. Okay, so the public key is posted and is accessible from a public directory. The private key is held in secret. So that means that there could be, right, a minimum of only one key for me, one key, and then everybody, and I can use it and communicate with many people. Okay, what is encrypted with one key can be decrypted with the other key. So what I encrypt with my private key can be decrypted using the public key. Okay, and one is useless without the other. So they're a key pair, right? And this is actually, this definition has been adopted in the rules on electronic evidence. So how do you use it? No, so let's say Abet uses my public key. So then because my public key is publicly available, he then sends me a message. He encrypts it using my public key. So the message is now ciphertext, right? You see that? Sent to the internet, I receive it. Using my private key, I decrypt it. Now, what does this mean? It means that this ensures privacy, right? Because the only key that can decrypt that message is my private key. So Abet can be sure when he encrypts using my public key that I'm the only one who can read that message. Okay? So how about if Abet uses his private key? Okay? So he has a message. Abet uses his private key, which only he has. He encrypts it, sends it on the internet. I receive ciphertext. And then, of course, it will say, oh, this message came from Abet. Okay. Then I check Abet's public key, which is publicly available. I decrypt the message. If it decrypts properly, I know that the message could only have come from Abet because I was able to decrypt it using his public key. Because the only key that could have been used to encrypt it was Abet's private key. Okay. I hope that's clear as the Pasig River. Okay. So we know that Abet is the only one who possesses the private key, and therefore he's the only one who could have encrypted the message. Okay, and then his authorship is also established by the fact that the key was decrypted. Na decrypt natin yung message using his public key. Okay, all right. So the digital. Okay, so now we'll move on. So now you understand public key, the key pair, right? Now we talk about something different. Okay, so you start from scratch. So we're going to discuss what is a hash. Okay, a hash is a digital fingerprint of an electronic document. I like to think of it as a number. Okay, so in other words, you have an entire message or an entire document. You run it through a hash function, then you come up with this hash. It's a summary of what this document is. Hash functions are standard. Okay, so there are hash functions out there. I don't know. I'm sure one of our guests or later will be able to tell us what are the different hash functions that are available. They're all standard. The message, this thing here, you cannot take this and get the original message. So even if I have the hash of this message, I'll never be able, mathematically impossible, or I guess improbable, for me to decrypt, to find out what the message is. Okay, but the value of a hash is that if I send you a message and I run it through a hash, so I send you the message and the hash function, right? When you receive it, okay, so you get my message, you run it through the same hash function, which everybody has access to these standard hash functions. And then you can compare the hash that I sent to you to the hash that you created. And if it's the same, then you know that that the message was not changed. It had not changed because the hash function changes if there is any, meaning the hash result, right, is different if there is anything that's been changed here. So for example, this message is hello world. Let's say I add a space after hello, right? Now, for human beings, there's no difference. For computers, there's a difference. And therefore, the hash function that will come out without the space is different from the one that will come out with the space. And so that's what I mean. When you're able to compare hashes, then you know that the file is exactly the same. Okay, so this is actually used. I don't know if you've heard of the technology called deduplication to find out that both files are exactly the same. You run a hash function, even if the file names are different, but if the hash result is the same, the files are identical. And so what do? You delete the other file, save on hard drive space, and just make a pointer to that file to the other file. That way you can save in hard drives. Okay, now, what is a digital signature? A digital signature, so you take the original message, you run it through a hash, you come up with a hash. You encrypt the hash with your private key. The encrypted hash is your digital signature. One more time. You have the original message, the message that you want to send, the document, for example, right? The say non-disclosure agreement. You run it through a hash function. So you come up with a hash. You encrypt this hash using your private key, which only you have, right? Then, so that hash now will be encrypted. This encrypted hash is your digital signature. Now, how do you do that? You send the message, the original message, or the original document together with the signed, the encrypted hash, which is your digital signature. So now this is the document, and these two documents are related to each other. You send it on the internet, it's received. So the recipient will do this. He will take the original message, run it through the hash function, then he'll have the hash, right? Makukuha niya yung hash. Now, he takes the digital signature. Now, he knows it came from you, or at least that's what the email says. He will then look up your public key, and then he will decrypt the hash or the digital signature using that key. He will come up with a hash, which is the decrypted, right, from this, because you can decrypt it using the public key. Now, you compare both hashes, the hash that you run through the hash function and the hash that you decrypted. If it's the same, then you verified it. You've established two things. Let me see, I haven't used these slides in a long time. First, you've established identity. How did you establish identity? By the fact that you decrypted the hash using the public key of the sender. In other words, the only one with the private key which encrypted this message is the sender. So you've established his identity, okay, that this message came from the holder of the private key. Now, in the case of now, what did the hash function establish? The hash function established that the message did not change. The message did not change from the time it was sent to the time it was verified. Meaning this message was the one that created that hash. This hash pala, right? It's the same. So now you know that the message has not changed. The integrity of the document has been established, and the identity of the signer has been established as well. Okay, right. So I'm going back and forth on that. All right. So now it's so people who sell digital signature systems will call it non-repudiation, right? Okay. Now the only problem is, in Bitcoin, I said about earlier. Maybe I don't know if we can do that for So if this is a Bitcoin, so let's say, as I said, a Bitcoin address is a public key, right? Meaning when you send an instruction, right, your wallet contains the private key. Okay, so you use that by entering your password, right? So what happens is you send a message to the blockchain, and then you take a hash and the message is formatted. It says transfer 3 Bitcoins to this person. And so let's say I have 8 Bitcoins in my wallet. I transfer 3 Bitcoins to them, and then transfer the 5 Bitcoins, the remainder, to me. Okay. So that message you will run it through a hash, and then you will sign it using the key that's in your wallet, right? The blockchain will receive it. The blockchain will receive your message. It will decrypt it using the because you signed it, because it knows that it's sent to the public key. No? So ang gagawin niya, i-decrypt, the blockchain will decrypt the signature using the Bitcoin address, which is the public key, come up with a hash. The hash is also the original message. The Bitcoin instruction is run through a hash function, and then they'll come up with a hash. And if they match, then the instruction is valid. Okay, so this is the way a blockchain works, at least my understanding. Okay, so technical people out there, if you're squirming in your seats, I'm sorry. Okay, so but you and I know, everybody knows, in Bitcoin, you don't know who owns a Bitcoin address. There's anonymity, and that's the same thing in digital signature. In the system that I've described up to this point, nobody knows who really owns that private key, or right, like who really owns, or really whose Bitcoin address is that. Okay, same thing. So the problem is identity. So what's the solution? Okay, one solution is for a third party to certify that that public key belongs to this individual. Okay, and that party is referred to as a certification authority. Okay, certification authority, and that certification authority, it's exactly like KYC. They will verify your identity, challenge you to establish your identity. On that basis, they will then say, okay, this public key is owned by this individual, and the certificate authority will itself issue a certificate, right? They will certify that that person owns that public key. Okay, and they issue digital certificates. And digital certificates will contain the name and address of the certificate authority, and it will certify that the certificate is valid for a certain time period. This is exactly what is being done by the PNPKI, or the Philippine National Public Key Infrastructure, by the DICT. They will verify your identity, and then they will issue a certificate saying that key, right, belongs to JJ Dicini, because JJ Dicini went to us and gave us his identification. Okay, so it's a bit like a credit card, right? Sorry, in terms of the information, validity period, the public key would be your address. The issuer is, like in this case it's Visa, but actually in a certificate it would be, say, the DICT. Okay, right. So just to give you a sense of the way we structure the rules on electronic evidence, we made it very simple to prove a digital signature. So if it's a digital signature, right, as we discussed, the way to prove it or authenticate it so that the document is considered signed is you need to show to the court, demonstrate to the court that there is a method used to show the existence of a digital signature, and second, there is a method to verify it. Okay, so anong year to? July 18, 2001, right? Abet de la Cruz sent me an email, right? And this was the Outlook. I don't know if it still does it now, but you see that if that is present, that means that the email is digitally signed. You click on that, and then, sorry, going back lang. This is the method to identify that the email is digitally signed. When you click on it, this is the method to validate it. So it says that the digital signature is valid. But when you look more closely into the details of the digital signature, what you will see is that persona is not validated. Okay, which means that although they were able to verify that this person says, right, that this ID is issued to this person, the one issuing the digital certificate, in this case it's VeriSign, they said we did not verify the identity of this person. So in a sense, this is cannot be considered valid. Okay, it's VeriSign that issued the certificate, but they don't know really who he is. Okay, let me just skip these slides, and I'll just move on to something that a few weeks ago or 2 weeks ago you saw Professor Emer Bañez, used DocuSign to sign the list of people who passed the law aptitude exam. And so if you open that document on what do you call this, on Acrobat, okay, what you will see is here, you see that it says signed and all signatures are valid. So you click on signature panel and this opens up. I don't know if you can read that, but I think I made it bigger. There, okay. It says the signatures are valid, validated, signed by DocuSign, signatures. So now you're saying, wait, so this document, which was signed by Professor Bañez, it's digitally signed. But when you look more closely, right, what you will find is that this document is not digitally signed by Professor Bañez. Professor Bañez used DocuSign to sign it, but the digital signature actually belongs to DocuSign. It says here, right, this document. So in other words, the document that was signed using by DocuSign, that document itself, DocuSign then signed it digitally. Okay, so there's the what they call it, an envelope, right? The DocuSign envelope created when Professor Bañez affixed his signature. That itself was digitally signed by DocuSign. Okay, so this is a document which is so now interesting, right? Under Philippine law, you will say, well, this document is considered signed by DocuSign. The document arguably might not have been signed by Emer Bañez, because we know for a fact it was not digitally signed by Emer Bañez. And when you look at when you go deeper into the certificate, when you click here for the signature details, to look at the digital certificate, what you will see again, as it says, it's DocuSign to whom Entrust, right, had issued the certificate. Okay, and I hope that was clear. So what I'm going to do now, so that ends my part on digital signature. Our next presenter is going to be Jeffrey Reyes. Hold on. Oh, okay. So Jeff, now if I'll ask him to turn on his video. Let me see. Hold on. I'm the Jeff, are you on already? So I'm going to I'm going to allow you to share your slides. Okay. So you share your slides. Okay, ba? Do you see it? I can stop my sharing.
Okay. Attorney, you have to enable all the participants.
I'm sorry. There you go. Okay. Who can start sharing? Someone is sharing. All panelists there. Okay. There you go.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay. So hello, everyone. I am Jeffrey Reyes. I am the co-founder and CEO of Twala. So we are a technology startup, a local Filipino tech startup, and we are a digital trust company. That's what we call ourselves. So Twala means tiwala because we wanted to be the first digital trust company in the Philippines. So we are a digital identity provider, an electronic and digital signature platform, and a blockchain technology startup. We are a member of Kubo. It's an accelerator program of PTI and the UST in partnership with the private sector. So we are a next generation e-signature platform for signing, verifying, and storing digital contracts and documents. No? So our technology is a mix of blockchain technology, artificial intelligence, cloud technology, web and mobile technologies. So our core technology is the digital identity app. Like what Attorney JJ said earlier, a Bitcoin address could be your public key. So that's exactly what we did. Hindi lang kami Bitcoin. So ang ginamit namin ay Ethereum blockchain. So this digital identity stores your private keys for you to sign documents online. No? And how do we do that? Like what Attorney JJ discussed earlier, we calculate the hash of the documents, and once we have the hash of the document, signers will sign it using their mobile phones with their digital ID. The digital ID contains the private signing keys of all the signatories, and it will encrypt the data and store it in the blockchain. So how do we verify the authenticity of the document? So you have your documents here, we recalculate the hash, we upload it to Twala or to a CLI, then we compare the hashes of the documents, if it matches any entries on the blockchain ledgers, we will show if it's blockchain verified and all the details of uh, the document. So it includes the hash of the documents, the owner of the documents, and the signatories and their digital IDs, including their IP address. Apart from that, we attach to the document a digital audit trail. So all the details of the signatories and all the transaction that happened on that documents. Same with DocuSign and Adobe Sign. So we use information security management system to protect all the integrity of the system. So it's a mixture of many technologies. And are we legal? So Attorney JJ discussed that ago. So these are all the legal framework that says that we are legal. So we support all types of electronic signature, secure electronic signature, electronic authority signature, and of course, digital signatures. And you can apply us to all the verticals, any industries. And we have satisfied the requirements of the E-Commerce Act on Section 8, like what Attorney JJ discussed earlier. And also we satisfy the digital signature requirements. So what's the difference between Twala and other signatures? So Twala is a platform plus digital signature. So PNPKI is a digital signature provider, could be called a certificate authority. And other platforms like DocuSign and Adobe Sign are also platforms. So Twala is a combination of PNPKI and DocuSign. So we produce digital signature, plus we have the platform to use it, to sign it. And that's it. I'm going to show a very short video, a 1-minute video on how it is done. So we have a digital identity, and we verify the identity using our eKYC services. It's the same that you use in applying for a digital bank, like Union Bank. So you upload your passport, you take a selfie. We have an artificial intelligence that will match your ID to your selfie. Then once you have that, you log into the site, scan a QR code, then you upload a document that you want to sign. And you put all the signatories. This time it's just only me that will sign the document. So you prepare the document, you put there where you want to sign, and you save it. Then you sign it. It's very much like DocuSign and HelloSign or Adobe Sign. So you sign it. You can upload your signature, you can draw it, and then you submit. And then you will receive notification on your mobile phone, your digital ID. And when it's done, there, you have a completed document. You can download the document, and you can check the document. And we attach the digital audit trail, and there's a QR code attached to it as well. If you want to verify your document, you can just upload the document and click attest, and it will show you the details that I showed you earlier. So that's basically what Twala is. Back to your turn, JJ.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, I think maybe stop share. So now we're moving on to the, hold on, let me turn on my, how do I turn it? Okay, here we go. All right, I'm back. So now we're going to share, is it still, okay, sorry, I need to check. The video for the DICT for, hold on, let me just, I need to set up. All right, this is for the PNPKI, and hold on, okay, right, PNPKI, Here we go. And share computer sound. All right. Can be seen, I hope. Oh, it's not sharing the right screen. Oops, wait. Yan yung problem pag ano. Hold on. Wait, this is Safari. Safari YouTube dapat. Oh, this is interesting. Wait, hold on for a second. Let me move this on. Wait. Hello? Nope. It's I'm sorry. Maybe you have it, Jeff.
Okay, so let me just take over a little bit, Attorney JJ, for you. There are questions for Jeff. Hi, Jeff. Thanks again for being here with us. Hello, everybody. My name is Cassie, and I am assisting Attorney JJ. And while he is also attending to, of course, being our DJ for today. So, Jeff, there are a few questions here in terms of course, of Twala, your startup, and I just wanted to say kudos to this initiative that you have formed. Okay, number one is, does it have an API? Let's just say there are some automations, that people wanted to come into. Is there such a thing?
Yes, we actually have our API that can be used by other companies if they want to integrate our system. They want to use it for their own applications. We are going to release the API maybe in 3 weeks time from now. Mm-hmm. So we are live. The consumer app is live, but for the API, it's not yet live. So probably in less than a month, we can open that.
Okay, yeah. Wonderful. And there's another question here. Okay, one more Attorney JJ, and then let's go to PNPKI. Okay, how much is the monthly fee for that?
So our introductory price for the consumer app is very, very cheap. Our professional plan is 450 pesos for unlimited digital signature with 10 gig of document storage. So our business plan, minimum of 5 users, it's just 350 pesos per user, and 100 gig of storage per user.
Okay, so there's no free plan yet. All right.
We have a free plan, actually, 5 documents per month. So
Fantastic.
That's our free plan.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much for that, Jeff. We'll tune in into you again later. Okay, Attorney JJ, you ready?
It's running.
Okay, great.
Philippine National PKI. PNPKI online application process. Step 1. Access the PNPKI website. Go to https:/dicity.gov.ph/PNPKI.
Okay, we lost the volume of the presentation. Okay. All right. Thank you for that presentation, Attorney JJ. Although we lost the music, the background music. Okay. Let's pass it on to the ICT.
All right. We'd like to invite Jennifer Canlas and Cheryl Vizcarra to join the. All right.
Okay.
Welcome. And I think we're good afternoon. Would you like to say anything on behalf of PNPKI?
So I have a presentation. I can reintroduce PNPKI to the participants.
Great. Please do so.
So so PNPKI is a government initiative on the issuance of digital certificates. So probably most of you know that there are various PKI vendors in the market. So some of them are DocuSign, VeriSign, Entrust, etc. So if you see PNPKI and actually the logo that is patterned after the Philippine flag, and it looks like a key, you know that it is the government initiative for PKI services. So PNPKI means Philippine National Public Key Infrastructure. It was actually established last 2013, but only in 2018 it was transferred to the Digital Certificate Division of the Cybersecurity Bureau of the Department of Information and Communications Technology. So sa ngayon po, free of charge po, in-offer po ng government, free of charge yung PNPKI digital certificates to the citizens. As long as you can present the requirements, yung pinakita nga pong video kanina, yung application form, and then birth certificate. If you don't have birth certificate, you can present your valid passport. And then you also need to present another valid ID. Pag may UMID po kayo, okay na yun. Pag wala, you need to present 2 valid IDs. So yun po yung mga requirements. If you are a foreigner, you can present the Alien Registration Certificate of Registration. So yun po yung mga requirements para maka-avail ng PNPKI digital certificates. So what are the legal basis for PNPKI? Una-una yung E-Commerce Act of 2000, which recognizes the electronic documents as functional equivalent of written document, and also the recognition of electronic signatures as functional equivalent of the written signature or a signature of a person on a written document. So in-explain ko last time na yung hindi po lahat ng electronic signatures will qualify as a functional equivalent of a signature of a person on a written document. So kailangan meron pa rin pong mga authentication mechanisms, mga security mechanisms, and a way to prove that the owner of that electronic signature, that the certain identity is indeed the one who signed the document. So at the center of it all is the Executive Order 810, Series of 2009. So ito po yung act institutionalizing the use of a certification scheme for digital signatures in the Philippines. So sa Section 4 po, ina-encourage din yung mga government agencies to use digital signatures in their e-government services. Meron po siya mga implementing policies. Yung unang-una, yung DTI, the Department Administrative Order 9 Series of 2010. So ito po yung guidelines on how a private CA can apply for an accredited certificate authority under PNPKI. And then the other one is the DTI, Department Administrative Order 1 Series of 2011. Ito naman po yung mga guidelines on how to issue certificates. Paano po yung verification process ng mga applicants. And then, nandito din po yung mga technical standards na sineset po ng government for PNPKI CAs. And then, the last one is the PNPKI Certificate Policy and Certificate Practices Statement. Dito po nakasulat kung paano po i-manage yung mga certificates, sino lang ba yung mga ini-issuehan, paano yung, again, yung verification process, and then kung sino po yung mga personnel na dapat nag-manage ng CA, then the registration authority, dito po sa PNPKI, CPCPS nakasulat. And ang nag-specify po dito is yung DICT nga po as the one who manages the root CA, which will be discussed po later yung sa certification scheme. So ito din po yung isa sa legal basis, diniscuss po to last webinar. So yun yung rules on electronic evidence. So hindi nga po lahat ng electronic signatures will qualify as functional equivalent of signature on a written document. Kailangan po masatisfy yung mga provisions dun sa may rules on electronic evidence. And then itong last one, yung GPPB Resolution number 16, series of 2019, it's more applicable to the government sector, yung mga nagpa-procure po ng mga items, ganun. So it allows the use of digital signature on procurement documents. So ito po yung sinasabi natin yung certification scheme as per Executive Order 810. So on top of the Philippine Root CA is the accreditation or assessment body, which is now the DTI Philippine Accreditation Bureau. Sila po yung nagpa-prescribe ng guidelines on the issuance of certificates and accreditation of CAs. Yung Philippine Root CA, ang nag-manage po nito is yung DICT right now. So under the Philippine Root CA, supposedly merong dalawang branches. Yung isa yung public sector, and then yung isa yung private sector. But as of now, wala pa pong nag-apply for accredited private CA. So sa ngayon, ang nagpa-function pa lang is yung government CA na yung DICT din po yung nagmamanage. And under the government CA is the RA that verifies the identity of the applicant. Para po yung mga na-verify lang yung identity, yung may issuehan ng digital certificates. Katulad nga po na in-explain ni attorney kanina, yung sa importance ng digital certificates po along with the use of public key cryptography. So yun po. So yung mga private entities po, pwede pa rin pong ma-issuehan under government CA. Pero specific purposes lang po and for government transaction. And also, as of now, since wala pang private CA, yung government CA yung nag-a-act as accredited private CA hanggat wala pa. So ano nga ba yung mga services na available pa under the Philippine Government CA? So we issue digital certificates, unang-una. So certificate authority, meron po tayong tatlo na nag-i-issue. Yung Gov Authentication CA, ito yung nag-i-issue ng authentication certificates. Authentication certificates can be used for email signing and encryption. So pag meron po kayong mga email address, ibabind po yung certificate doon sa email address na yun, which you can use for exchanging encrypted emails or signed emails. Yun po. And then the Gov Signing CA, which issues the signing certificates that can be used for document signing, PDF, Microsoft Word, Excel file, PowerPoint file, etc. And then lastly, yung SSL-CA, which issues SSL certificates. But as of now po, ongoing pa rin yung process of acquiring a certification from WebTrust. So yung WebTrust po important para yung mga CAs po natin, automatically nang ito-trust ng mga browsers at saka ng mga applications. Hindi na siya need i-manually i-trust. So, sa ngayon po kasi kailangan pang i-install manually yung mga CA certificates. And then, so yun, kailangan po siyang install sa mga applications like Adobe, Firefox, ganun po, dun sa may computer niyo po. And then, yung token management system with registration authority. Nakapaloob po dito yung self-service portal kung saan kayo mag-request ng certificate. Doon po ma-generate yung private key and public keys with the help of your browser. And then doon po mag-send ng certificate requests so that you will be issued digital certificates. And then the validation service, ito po yung mga kinakall ng applications like Adobe Reader or ng DocuSigner, ng Thunderbird, kung ano man yung application na yun, to check the validity of the digital certificates. And last but not the least, yung timestamp authority. So ito po yung ginagamit ng mga applications so that yung embedded timestamp will refer to an authoritative time source katulad po ng Philippine Standard Time. So yun po. Para sure tayo na tama yung oras na nakalagay dun sa may document kung kailan siya sinign. Hindi lang basta computer's clock or sinet ng user. Dapat po tama yung nakalagay dun sa may digitally signed document. Important din po to for long-term validation. So kapag need nyo i-access yung document after some time. So yun yung mga use cases po natin. Yung sa SEC as a relying party, nire-require niya po yung mga SEC brokers niya to submit the risk-based capital adequacy reports online. So yung mga reports na yun, digitally signed using PNPK digital certificates, and sinasabit po nila yan twice a month sa SEC. So nakakatipid po yung mga brokers. So hindi kasi na nila kailangan mag-spend ng money on gas o kaya sa transportation, sa pag-commute. And also yung time na nasa-save nila kaysa na nagpupunta sila from their office to the SEC office. And need lang nilang, also yung masasave nila from printing the reports and then signing, ganyan, scanning. So yun po yung mga advantages niya when it comes to the online submission of risk-based capital adequacy reports. And also yung Davao po, LGU Davao, ginagamit na din nila yung digital certificates for archiving, for records management system. Nakipag-coordinate na din sila sa mga local offices, sa mga agencies na i-allow yung paggamit ng digital signature. So instead na hard copy i-submit, online na lang, and then yun nga, digitally signed siya. Yun po yung dalawang use cases na masasabi namin sa ngayon on the advantages of using digital signatures and digital certificates issued by PNPKI. So ito nga po yung mga PKI benefits, confidentiality. So kapag nag-encrypt kayo gamit yung public key, yung may-ari lang po ng private key makapag-pass. So in that way, wala pong mga ibang makaka-access ng information, sensitive information, but the owner. And then integrity, kapag natamper yung file, makikita po doon na signature is invalid. So in that way, may ensure nyo na tama pa rin yung content, walang nagtamper dun sa may content. Authentication, you can verify that the sender is indeed, na-confirmed yung identity ng sender. And then non-repudiation, ito po yung signer or yung sender, hindi niya ma-deny na sa kanya galing yung document or yung file or yung information. And also the financial benefits, it reduces costs, paper, ink, printer, manpower time, transportation, also yung delays caused by yung pagpapasign, gano'n. Physical storage also, katulad dun sa may LGU Davao, nakasave po sila ng physical storage. Instead na physical, digital storage na lang. Also, ma-avoid din po yung identity theft, yung fraud, encoding errors, and yung sa last na financial benefits, nag-a-apply po ito most likely sa SSL certificates. So yun po. So sa ngayon, since March 16, marami na din pong nag-apply. Nasa around 1,800 na po yung mga applicants. Then ito po yung mga agencies na pinanggalingan ng mga applicants. So sa ngayon, ang majority na nag-apply is from NGAs. Meron din po some from SUCs, GOCCs. Meron din po sa private. Siguro ito po yung mga SEC brokers o yung mga nag-explore po ng gamit ng PNPKI digital certificates. Yan lang po. If you need more information, you can visit our page in the DICT website. And also you can send an email to info.pnpki@dict.gov.ph. Yun lang po, Attorney. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so I think, hold on. Yes. All right, so I think we can go now to, oops. Sorry, I think you need to stop sharing. Stop participant sharing, there you go. All right, can we ask the other panelists to turn on their video, and then we'll go to the open forum. Okay, review, okay. Jeff? Maybe some. Okay, so let's go through the questions. Okay. Are there any disadvantages to developing homegrown digital signature platform for use by developing companies for its third-party transactions, especially if a third party were to question the validity of the signature through such platforms? So I guess the question here is, are we better off using something foreign or better using something homegrown? That's from Attorney Rañeses.
So yeah, of course there's always a risk, to go for startups. But the thing is, we thought about that. Kaya yung technology namin, it's built on blockchain, we anchor all the documents on a public blockchain as well. Meaning, if ever we go out of business in 20 years, 30 years from now, you still have a way to verify your documents because it is in the public blockchain, not the actual document. It's just the hash of the document that is anchored on a public blockchain. So the privacy and security of your document is still there, but you still have a way to authenticate it. So if that's the risk of, for like a startup like us, that's why we are being mentored by Kubo, which is an accelerator program of DTI, DOST, and the private sector. And we are also in contact now with some venture capitalists. Some of them are based in Silicon Valley to invest on our technology. So we are a very young company. We just incorporated like 3 weeks ago, and we just launched. But we developed the technology for 6 months now. And it just happened that we just launched now. Incidental lang na may COVID, but we started the development November 2019. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to be clear, it's my understanding that what's this? What the DICT is doing is actually not in conflict with what Twala. In fact, Twala will integrate with PNPKI. What the government is doing is providing at least as I understand it, linking people, identities of individuals to their key pair. That's correct, no, Cheryl? Jenny?
Yes, the PNPKI, yung pinaka-service niya po is the issuance of digital certificates. So right now, wala po kami in-offer na document signing service, ganun po. So yung mga users po ng PNPKI digital certificates will need to use a third-party applications such as yung siguro Twala pwede din, and then yung Adobe Reader, ganyan.
Yeah, actually, one of the advantages probably, something worth looking into. So under the law, if something is a public document, a public document doesn't need to be authenticated anymore, so that they can be presented into evidence. So I'm wondering, it's worthwhile looking into whether or not we can look at the PNPKI certificate as having some sort of advantage in terms of it being admitted into evidence to establish the identity of the signer. So that might be an advantage right there. But something we'll look into that. That's all right. Let me see. How to avail of PKI? Can it be used for financial institutions? So have we seen that in PNPKI? Have you seen financial institutions sign up?
Right now po, wala pang financial institution yung nagsasabi talaga that they accept digitally signed documents using PNPKI digital certificates. So, pinakamalapit lang po na financial institution nga is yung SEC, yung nire-require niya yung mga SEC brokers to submit RBCA reports. Ganyan po. Meron din po kami mga applicants from financial institutions such as BSP, Land Bank, but right now, siguro in-explore pa nila kung paano nila gagamitin yung digital certificates sa mga services.
Okay. There's a question here for a PNPKI. How can a government agency apply to be a certification authority or a registration authority? I think this is a very good question.
Yes. You can refer po dun sa my DTI, Department Administrative Order, DAO, Department Administrative Order 9, Series of 2010. So, yun po.
Okay.
Pwede ba i-send yung link dito? Send ko na lang din po yung link dito dun sa document. Nandun yung mga criteria para po ma-accredit as certificate authority under PNPKI. So, meron din po dun mga requirement na personnel. Nandun po yung mga personal requirements. And then yung capital na kailangan. And then yung mga technical standards na kailangan i-meet. So, send ko po yung link dito sa my.
Actually, I was thinking on one of the best agencies that you can use is the Department of Education. Kasi all the teachers, right? All those teachers, pwedeng i-certify yan. The Department of Education has all their information. They can verify the identity of these individuals. And that's I don't know, are there millions or maybe hundreds of thousands of teachers all over the country? And of course, also PNP, any government agencies has a lot of people. Their HR can act as the way to verify, and that could perhaps be a way for them to be issued certificates. Matanong ko lang just to further put some relevance to the PNPKI. I understand there is an executive order that requires government agencies to transact using electronic signatures. Cheryl or Jenny, if you'd like to discuss that.
Yes po. Yung sa EO 810 po kasi, dun talaga kumbaga nagsimula yung PNPKI na nire-require niya lahat ng government agencies and instrumentalities na may e-government services to use digital signatures. So sa ngayon po, maraming government agencies ang may online system na pero hindi pa po na-incorporate yung digital signatures. So ang nangyayari po ngayon, nag-a-apply po sila para po matest muna sa kanilang mga processes, sa kanilang mga systems, bago po nila siguro i-offer sa public.
Okay. So, but actually, it's interesting, no? Back in 2000, merong deadline na nilagay sa E-Commerce Act. Now, within 3 years, all government agencies are supposed to transact electronically. Ang nangyari, the way it was interpreted was, after 3 years, all government agencies must have a website. So actually, that deadline served at naging very busy actually yung National Computer Center nung time na yon because everybody needed to put a website online. There's a question for Twala. Can you send a document with 5 signatories and all of the 5 signatories can sign it at any time they want and all signatures will come out in the same document? That's an easy answer, an easy question.
Yes po. Actually, yan yung limitation ng PNPKI. They don't allow parallel signing. No, so sequential ang signing ng PNPKI. Kay Twala po, we allow parallel signing. So you can see the signature in real time. You can use your mobile phone, you can use your laptop to do it. Sa PNPKI, I think sa laptop nyo lang siya pwedeng gawin for now. Tama po ba ako, Ma'am Cheryl? Sa PNPKI. So parang ganun po. Sa pagkakaalam ko, sa laptop nyo lang siya pwedeng gawin kasi kailangan mong install yung digital certificate mo. For Twala, can be done mobile and laptops anytime, anywhere, and parallel signing po. Hindi nyo na kailangang mag-sendan pa ng email ng documents kasi you are viewing the same document at the same time. Meron din pong status doon kung sino na yung nakasign, sino na yung hindi, sino yung nag-decline, or sino yung nag-cancel. So, kitang-kita nyo po yung flow ng document. It's actually a document workflow management system or could be a contract management system. Ganun po siya.
Okay. So just to push forward and discuss more about. So the way I understand the PNPKI is the government will either through a government agency, CA, or even through the private sector, the government will issue a certificate para attesting to your identity because of investigations, because of face-to-face interaction. It's a one-time. It seems like it's a one-time activity. Is Twala also certifying identity through this sort of one-time KYC interactions, or does Twala extend establishment of identity through other means?
Well, we have an eKYC support po. Parang same thing when you create your Union Bank digital bank account, diba? So you take a selfie with your mobile phone and you take a picture of your ID. We have an artificial intelligence that will match your face to the face of the picture of the ID and some other data points that we check to verify authenticity. So it's very similar to Jumio or Verif, like any other eKYC solutions out there. So it's embedded on our app. So you don't have to go through Twala to present yourself physically, but we can also do that. So you cannot be issued a digital ID if you did not undergo a KYC verification.
Siguro my next question is to PNPKI. The National ID System Law says if I remember correctly, says that when an individual presents his national ID to a government, to anyone, it must be accepted by that person as proof, once the data is verified, as proof of his identity. So in other words, I wonder now whether that will change the process flow for PNPKI, where if a person presents his national ID and the PNPKI system is able to verify against I guess there will be a database run by the PSA. Will PNPKI then issue the certificate? Too early to tell.
Okay, sir, that's a good question. Actually, lagi naman pong kasama yung DICT sa meeting with PSA when it comes to national ID. Sa ngayon po kasi, sir, yung batas natin for the requirements is talagang luma na, 2009 pa. Wala pang nga Data Privacy Act noon eh. So ngayon siguro, sir, pag naging okay na yan, mag-update din naman tayo ng mga requirements, ng process. Yun yung susunod nating gagawin. Kasi sa ngayon, sir, nakafocus kami ngayon sa hardware enhancement, sa mga magkaroon ng mobile application, magkaroon ng EKYC din. So doon muna tayo, sir. Kapag okay na, saka naman natin, sir, tutukan yung policies para ma-update din po.
Correct. I mean, that's I think kasi and the way, as I mentioned earlier, ang nakikita ko kasi sa PKI, the quote unquote weakest link, because the hash functions and the key pair, mathematics yun, so that's very strong. The weakest link are human beings, and in human beings, that's the certification, certification of identity. And I'm wondering na yung national ID kasi gagamitin natin yan. I think in the future, hindi ka papasok ng building pag wala ka national ID. It will get to that point, no? And therefore, magkakaroon ka ng parang digital footprints all over the place using your national ID. And I wonder later, PNPKI might be able to harness all of these, and maybe Twala also, be able to harness all of these digital footprints that we leave all over the place in Facebook and in the places where we shop, for example, and then gather all that data. Parang identity is not just the certification by the DICT, but also the other transactions with other people na binigay mo yung information at na-verify nila yung data mo. I'm fairly certain that you guys will be moving in that direction. Am I correct, or do you have any? Is there any technology right now that's parang poised to take that on? If you're aware. Unfair question. Okay. The question. This is a very good question here, sabi. As businesses must adapt to the new normal, no? They're asking. I think ang question kasi dito is, this is a company. They're dealing with other people. Now they're forced to use electronic signatures. If the other party that they're dealing with is not sophisticated or aware of encryption, ganyan, do you think that that's a problem, or you don't really need to know how it works in order for it to be effective? Difficult question. Ako kasi ang analogy ko dyan, parang marunong ako mag-drive ng kotse, hindi ako marunong mag-ayos ng kotse. Right? So I like to think that even if the users don't understand the underlying stuff, technology, so long as they know how to use it, right? They know that they can only affix the signature using their password. They protect their passphrases. They know that physical representation is an indication of your consent. Then that's enough. That should be enough, diba? I think in the case of Twala, they'll receive a link. They'll respond online or on the app, right? And they're aware that they're signing something. It has some legal effect, right? There's no doubt that they're entering into an agreement. Is that correct, Jeff?
Yes po. The mobile app contains the private keys. And kapag nag-sign ka on web, ipoprompt ka niya sa mobile app mo if you really want to sign it. So parang OTP siya in a way, pero through push notification sa mobile app. So it's only you has the sole control of your mobile app inside your mobile phone, and we incorporated PIN, facial identity patterns to secure your app within your phone.
Okay. There's a question. I think this is for me. Is it important for an electronic signature to be electronically affixed? What if the signature was scanned from a valid ID and that was used in the document electronically? Will it be considered an e-signature? And the answer to that question is, it is an electronic signature insofar as the law is concerned, but it will not be considered as being valid under the law. Actually, there is some discussion now to amend the E-commerce Act, and what we will be proposing is to align it to the UNCITRAL model law. So we remove all Section 8 so that all e-signatures, all electronic signatures will be considered valid electronic signatures. And I think there's enough. I mean, when you look at things like even Twala, DocuSign, Adobe, the process flow gives you a high level of certainty that that person is the one who signed it. Particularly, for example, if you send it by email and then you do say two-factor authentication, right, or one-time password. If you put those layers in there, it's very hard for the person to say that no, that's not me. Meaning it's somebody who had access to your email and had access to your mobile phone. So it's very hard for a judge to believe that, or anybody to believe that that was not that person who put that or went through that electronic signature process. Okay. Is there a timeline? It's a very good question from Ralph Angus. Is there a timeline when we will have a private CA established? What do you think?
Let me answer that, Attorney JJ. Private CA po ba? Tama po ba?
Private Certification Authority. So we have PNPKI, which is government, and of course the PNPKI is willing to interface with private entities, so that the government will I guess you will issue your own certificate based on their certificate, correct? On their information gathering. Yeah.
There are private CAs. So most of them are foreign companies. Hindi lang sila nagpa-accredit sa Philippine Accreditation Board kasi hindi required. And there's a very stiff na requirements. Kailangan meron kang 200 million na financial requirement para ma-accredit ka ng PAB. Pero ang problema yung sinasabi ng DTI DOST Department Order before, hindi ka required na magpa-accredit to be valid signature. So ngayon, kausap ko kanina yung taga PAB, wala talagang nagpa-accredit since the creation ng e-commerce law.
Yes. But ang sense ko is that the reason why private sector has not stepped in, baka the market isn't big enough yet. And so maybe that's tingin ko that's the value of the PNPKI. Kasi parang chicken and egg. Madaming gagamit, kung marami nang gumagamit. So if government can encourage by having, say, government employees and because government is the largest employer in the country. If they can force government employees to transact to each other and government agencies to sign digitally, then baka konting tulak na lang, the private sector will come in and then they'll start using it for private transactions.
Actually, so, Attorney JJ, you can buy a digital certificate from a private CA. Kaya lang sobrang mahal.
How much? Yes, how much?
$300 per year. One digital certificate for one individual.
Right, so that's $25 a month.
Yes.
Diba? That's right.
And you have to renew it every year.
And how much is PNPKI's? Cheryl or Jenny? How much ang PNPKI service?
Currently po yung PNPKI digital certificates offered free of charge po. So
yes, that's my favorite four-letter word. Free. So PNPKI is free. Which is good. That's what I'm saying. And then you're offering it to private citizens also, diba?
Yes.
Right. So I mean, yun yung sinasabi ko. I think government can have it, private sector can have it. When you link it to PhilSys, it's a good facility and parang get us started, no? And especially now with people having to transact, I think what the challenge really is for encouraging private sector to integrate the PNPKI into their process. So if a bank takes on PNPKI and says, look, if you want to verify your identity, one is through PNPKI, then that would be a nice push. And maybe there's some possibility to interface with bankers association, siguro, build some middleware, right, to interface their system with yours. Okay. Right. What are government's plans to increase the public's trust in digital signatures? Are there any plans? I mean, PNPKI is, I think, very important. May other related projects pa ba that PNPKI is part of?
So ngayon kasi, attorney, more on, di ba dati po parang gusto ng COMELEC din gamitin, gusto rin gamitin ng PSA. Maraming coordination na nangyayari pero wala pa naman pong na-implement. More on talks pa lang. Kasi dati parang
Ah.
gustong gamitin for elections, di lang po natuloy,
Yes.
then for next election ulit. So, tingnan po natin kung by next election magamit na po natin yung PKI technology.
That's interesting. I think what they wanted was the election return. Tama ba? The election return which is generated by the machine, by the PCOS or the ano ba yun, vote counting machine, DCM. They wanted that document to be digitally signed by the Board of Election Inspectors. Pero ang nangyari ata, it's digitally signed. But they use the key that's given to them on the USB. And so it's digitally signed, pero hindi mo alam kung sino. It's signed by the whoever is in possession of the key. And you don't necessarily know who that person is. And siguro the layer they wanted was let the individual Board of Election Inspectors have their own password para they sign that ano. But I thought that was a little bit dangerous also. Kasi kung election inspector ka, you really cannot attest na tama yung count kasi hindi naman ikaw yung nag-count. Nag-count yung machine. So the most you can attest was that there was no error in the machine, and that's what the machine told you at the end of the day. So that's interesting. I mean, yan na yung mga I think magiging problems when it comes to digital signatures. What are you really attesting to? Okay. There's a lot of questions about electronic notaries, and that's interesting. Yung kung notaryo publika, I mean, because the Supreme Court now is considering rules on electronic notarization. Maybe there's good grounds for PNPKI to interface with that, so that say require all notaries to get a PNPKI certificate, so that all notarized documents are backed by identity verification. The Supreme Court doesn't have to do it. The DICT can do it for them. Is that correct? Would that be a good idea?
Okay. Mas okay po siya, sir. Although ngayon, sir, ang nag-a-apply sa atin ngayon, mga IBP, they're planning to apply na rin yung Integrated Bar of the Philippines, yung mga lawyers po. Ni-encourage na rin po sila mag-apply. So mostly ngayon, sir, yung mga nag-a-apply po, mga lawyers din from DOJ, prosecutors from OSG. So baka from there, sir, magkaroon tayo ng...
Dahil sa COVID yan kasi para hindi na sila umarap dun sa inquest, nagdi-digital signature sila. So it's currently being used. May digital signature sila. And PNPKI is a layer of security na at least may assurance na nag-affix ng signature is really that person and not just anyone else.
And to add lang, Attorney JJ, there are lawyers as well who use Twala to submit their pleadings, their bail requirements, to comply dun sa circular ng Supreme Court to submit digital documents.
Okay. There's a question here for Twala. What would be your data retention policy? I think maybe you answered that already. Do you have an auto-purge system? But I think you said it's on the blockchain.
Yeah, the blockchain.
Which blockchain?
We have a private blockchain and we anchored it to a public blockchain. So the private blockchain is controlled only by us. Yun po siya. And,
so long as that public blockchain keeps on running, then you can verify. Nandun yung hash and you can verify the validity of the,
And in the event na hindi na mag-run yung private blockchain namin, you can actually use public blockchain to do it because all documents are anchored to public blockchain, just the hashes. So for that data retention, you can actually remove your document on our system if you don't want to use our cloud storage services. It will still be verifiable kasi we just store the hashes and not the actual document. So yun po siya.
Okay. There's a very good technical / business question here. Would you advise, you technical people, would you advise a private company, even a big one that has a lot of customers, like a public utility, for example, would you advise them to run their own digital signature platform and certification authority? Kasi diba, they will have millions of customers, so i-verify nila. Would you recommend them to run something like PNPKI? We'll start with the government, with first, Cheryl and Jenny. Kasi, go ahead.
So, ang important naman po sa mga digital certificates is yung trust. So, as long as ma-establish yung trust within that organization, pwede naman sila mag-set up po ng their own certificate authority. Okay lang naman po yun.
But what about security and infrastructure costs? Is it significant? Mahal ba ang ganyan magpatakbo?
Yes. Siguro yun din po yung reason kung bakit 200 million yung nakalagay na capital sa may Department Administrative Order ng DTI. So, medyo mahal po mag-set up ng isang PKI infrastructure. So, you need the servers, and then yung personnel, kailangan po, nandun po yung skills and technical expertise. So, medyo mahal din po yun. So, you need to consider that po. And also yung, ano pa ba, mga maintenance
security
costs.
Yeah. How about the security? Kasi inisip ko, you know, if I can hack into that, I can get somebody's signature and start withdrawing from that guy's bank account, right? So I'm sure hackers would love to hack these systems. So that's another consideration. No?
Sa side po ng Twala, Attorney JJ, no? So it's very, gaya po ng sinabi ni Ma'am Cheryl, it's very costly to create your own infrastructures. Kasi you have to hire all different capabilities. Kailangan meron kang security guy, kailangan meron kang marunong sa networking, kailangan marunong ka sa front end, marunong ka sa back end. You have to comply the ISMS 27001 Information Security Management System. And all technical and procedural processes. And kapag hindi yun ang core business mo, the cost of maintaining that will probably defeat your main business. No? That's why nagkaroon ng certification authority. And tama po si Ma'am, 200 million yung requirement to put up your own certification authority.
Yes, for the same reason we don't make our own clothes. Right? Yeah, there's specialization in an economy, and you better trust the people who are better at making. Kasi if I had to make my own clothes, I mean it's going to be ugly. But right now we're having to cut our own hair. So kaya tinuwa na lang wala na lang design, basta na lang kung ano yung nakukuha ng razor. All right. Ang tanong, okay, in terms of legal recognition, I guess a question for me, is there a difference between digital versus e-signature? Well, a digital signature is a form of e-signature. So in the entire universe of e-signatures, digital signature is one type. Digital signature, as I said, if the identity can be verified independently, can satisfy section 8, particularly if the one that issued the certificate is also the one that issued the key pair. Because the verification is through the certificate. Plus, a lot of it is embedded already in the technology that's out there. Okay. If we have a third-party software for e-signature, sa ginagamit sila, do they need to register for PNPKI? So this is a very good question. So madami ng companies dyan, they've signed up with DocuSign, they've signed up with Adobe, they're paying already, in-integrate na nila sa systems nila. Ang tanong nila, is it worthwhile na mag-sign up sila for PNPKI? Anong tingin nyo? Jenny and or Cheryl? I honestly don't know the answer.
Tulungan ko po sila Ma'am Cheryl, no? Kasi hindi yata kayang isupport ng PNPKI ang API or Application Programming Interface na kailangan to connect the system ng mga private companies. So yun yung major limitation ng PNPKI kasi it's geared towards individuals, no? Not actually systems to talk to each others. Parang ganun po siya.
Yeah, but I figure ang gagawin ng company, sabihin niya sa mga tao niya, kumuha kayo lahat ng PNPKI individuals. You individually get, so they individually sign up. And then ang kailangan na lang is to get those certificates somehow recognized by DocuSign. And then para lang when they affix a DocuSign, use DocuSign, DocuSign will also link the certificate issued by PNPKI. So that process flow might be a DocuSign problem, less of a PNPKI.
Exactly.
But I think there's value there, di ba? Kasi look, if the government agency said validated who you are, and that validation is linked by DocuSign, then there's more confidence na talagang siya yung tao, I would think. But I think I understand, Jenny, that government is already in the process of trying to work out these integration issues, no? With PNPKI, integrating PNPKI.
Actually, attorney, yes. Actually po, sa PNPKI naman po, kasi ang main mandate namin is to issue digital certificates talaga. But we have APIs available for those po na gustong i-integrate sa kanilang mga system. Wala po kami sariling programmer or developer, but we assist po yung mga ibang agencies na gusto pong gamitin yung APIs. And free lang din po yun from PNPKI upon request. So we offer po free APIs.
So you have APIs na for PNPKI?
Yes po, for signing.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, ano pala? So, yun lang yun. So, somebody just has to build the system. DocuSign just needs to build the system to interface, or maybe a local integrator can build the interface para they can extend the functionality to PNPKI. And at least you have this government issued document, right? Na parang it's actually I could be wrong, but I'm thinking of PNPKI now as para siyang, it's like a government issued ID in a sense, no? Kasi ina-attest nyo na siya yung tao na yon. So you're extending, so baka nga pwedeng gamitin for
We will very much be interested sa API ng PNPKI if ever na meron na. So para at least libre ding magamit ng mga tao if ever. Kasi free siya.
Right. I'm also asking. I'm looking at the other. We went through we went all of the questions already. So we still have maybe 5 minutes. We usually end at 5:30, but I think the discussion has been a very good one, very exciting one. There's a lot of interest, a lot of I'm looking. There's still a lot of people actually following the discussion right now. So I'd like to give you maybe some parting thoughts. Jenny, siguro muna, may parting thoughts lang.
Okay po. So thank you po for having us today. Siguro sir, sa ngayon, especially na we are all working from home, let's take advantage po of the free services being offered by the Department of Information and Communications Technology. Kumbaga hindi lang naman siya from Wi-Fi lang, pang internet lang. We also have PKI na pwedeng gamitin ng private and public individuals para makapag-transact pa rin sila, para business as usual pa rin kahit tayo ay nasa mga kanya-kanyang bahay.
Right, and maybe I'll push you a bit more, Jenny. On I remember we discussed this earlier about the important work that the ICT is doing in relation to the Anti-Red Tape Act in improving delivery of government services, and I think PNPKI is a big contributor to that. This is now enhancing ease of doing business, in the Philippines.
Yes po. We've been in constant communication po with ARTAS group naman kung paano po mas mapapadali yung mga services sa mga government.
All right, thank you. Cheryl? Naka-mute ka, sorry.
If you want to apply po, you can visit our page po, dict.gov.ph/PNPKI. So, nandun po yung application form and requirements. So, ulitin ko lang po, free of charge po yung PNPKI digital certificates.
All right, thank you. Jeff, parting thoughts?
Ayun po. Thank you so much, Attorney JJ, for having us here. And message ko lang po, we are a small tech startup, locally homegrown. So if you want to give us a chance to show our expertise on technologies, sana po you can try. Our app is live now, and it's free of charge for unlimited use. So we won't charge maybe until 60 days from now. And encourage ko
Abang maaga.
So encourage ko rin po kayo na to use PNPKI, no? So it's very important for us to transform into a digital economy, and digital signature, whether PKI ng PNPKI or ng Twala, could really help our economy move forward and transition to the new normal. Yun lang po.
All right. I'd like to thank all of you for showing up today. I think today's discussion has been greatly enriched by your inputs. I'm thankful for everyone who signed in for Digital Transformation Thursdays. We hope to see you in our future events. Next week, we'll be talking about IT project management. We've got ADR and data privacy behind that. And we hope to invite, and I think, we really should do an episode on ease of doing business and the ICT's efforts in that regard. And also on cybersecurity, that's another important. So lots of things to talk about. We'd like to thank you. We are celebrating our 20th year, the law firm, and we thank you for joining us on Digital Transformation Thursday. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you po.
Thank you.